Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Freelancer on Rocket Rapid Commentaries. In this episode, we'll be landing on planet Pittsburgh as part of Tutorial Land.
Not much to look at. A lot of rocks, smoke, and fire.
I do really like that past Gerdat has these chances to send us messages using the console commands.
So yeah, Pittsburgh is obviously a mining planet. You know, just like Pittsburgh is supposed to be.
What a dump! Well, Mr. Gerdat, you can tell me right away. Is there a planet Los Angeles?
Yes, actually, there is. And we will be going around it. I don't remember if we actually land on Los Angeles.
We're not done yet. We're just waiting for the others. What others? We've suspected for some time now that the Order has had ties to organized crime.
So King is mentioning here the Order, which is the actual enemy faction that did the bombing of the Rhineland cruiser at the start of Tutorial Land.
All right, but this had better be.
So we're finally on the trail of the people who blew up the space station, which was the very first thing we saw.
We are not actually on their trail, but you know we're getting involved in that trail on accident because we decided to start working with the Liberty Police, and obviously the Liberty Police would want to know what the fuck the Order is up to, as they are a terrorist organization.
They're gonna turn a blind eye to our 3-star rating, call off the helicopters, and give us a chance to cool off with our pistols and infinite ammo safely in our waistband.
All right, so let's sell our Justice Mark 1s in order to get 3 advanced star beams, class 2 weapons. Waha. It is very important throughout the campaign that you are periodically upgrading your weapon loadouts. Very specifically because in order to actually deal with the end of campaign threats, you're going to need slightly better weapons than what you have ready access to.
ABU, always be upgrading.
Always be upgrading. Now, thankfully, the upgrade ladder in this game is actually on 2 different paths: the very linear one and the playstyle one. The linear upgrade path is super easy to follow. Bigger numbers are usually better, and when you have the option to have more guns, have more guns. However, there are specialty weapons in the game that very specifically change your playstyle in how you are going to deal with enemies, either through long range, close range, or additional tech options. The additional tech options is not something I'm going to actually explore because I find that they are pretty bad. But yeah, we now have access to scan cargo, which means that we can actually look to see that our escorts are running, the Justice Smart 1s that we just sold. So we are actually stronger than our escorts right now. Only by about 20%.
So you can check the level and HP and attack power of the people in your party.
You can also check. Also check the stats of enemies with scanning ships. Doing so in combat is ill-advised, and that's usually when you have the easiest time to do it. So, oh well.
This is LSF Patrol Gamma 6. We're on an intercept course and approaching your position. Over.
To the prison ship.
Acknowledge Gamma 6. We're under attack by multiple rogue fighters. We have fires on several decks, and our defenses are failing.
Understood. Hang on.
So, we're going to be dealing, a majority of the time in Liberty, we're going to be dealing with the Rogues faction. And the Rogues faction end up flying a relatively interesting ship called the Bloodhound. And the reason why the Bloodhound is interesting is because it actually has a turret slot on top that it can, independently fire at opposing targets.
Heavy damage. Get these guys off us.
It is something that we will have access to much later on that we're not going to actually use. I don't actually like turrets. I find that turrets, despite their tactical advantages, end up not being as effective as just having a full suite of laser weapons that you can use when you want. To be perfectly honest, the Liberty Starbeams are not honestly all that great, but they fire really, really fast. And because they fire relatively fast and have decent energy costs, what ends up happening with the Liberty weapons is that you end up being able to be in sustained combat with individual targets for a really long time if you need to, without actually being at all that great of risk. However, it also, because you're in combat with a single fighter for a long time, that more than likely means that you're going to end up taking a bit more damage from the other enemies that you're supposed to be fighting as well. Because remember, we're in space. We got a Z, Y, and X axis of potential weaknesses, like directly behind us, which is what ends up happening a lot.
Right, while we're concentrating on these fleeing targets, they're taking damage, but we're getting hit by targets that we're not attacking.
Thankfully, for a majority of the campaign, until about 60% of the way through, the shields and hull statistics of the ships that you can naturally get into are good enough to where you don't really have to worry about that much of the enemy fighters.
What is your status? Over.
Fires are contained. We lost life support to several decks, but we're all right. Over.
Acknowledged.
We saved the prison ship, Mr. Cloud.
Negative. Repair crews from
Nice.
Pittsburgh are on the way. You came just in time.
Glad we could help. Epsilon, wait. Stay here and
Didn't
chase
get any
more rogues show up.
weapons.
Trent and I will continue the search on
But
our
we got a
own.
bunch of nanobots and shield batteries.
Affirmative. Good luck.
I'm uploading new
So,
coordinates.
how often do you get tripped up in the inventory screen while you're in a dogfight
I don't.
situation? Oh, good.
Yeah, one of the amazing things is that because we're actually on keyboard, we actually have nanobots and shield batteries actually tied to hotkeys, so I can just use them with their hotkey commands. The big issue with nanobots and shield batteries is that you never get them upgraded. So when you actually have better shields and hulls, you end up spending more nanobots and shield batteries during repairs than you are used to with new boats. In comparison to your old boat, rather. Like, the Starflyer that we're currently in usually only takes 2 or 3 shield batteries in order to fully repair its shields. Later boats will take upwards of 10 shield batteries to do the same.
We hear you, Beta 4. Where are you? Over.
Pay attention to your costs.
I have several rogue ships on my tail. Can't take them. My shields are failing.
All right, Trent. Let's
Free
take
flight
these
in
guys
these
out.
in these debris fields is actually relatively simple because our boats don't actually fly that fast. And another a smaller thing that you can do whilst you're in these debris fields is specifically farm for scrap metal. Scrap metal is a terrible trade commodity that you shouldn't be farming for, but if you want to do it, you can.
There's a lot of scrap metal in this debris
Oh yeah,
field.
and we're gonna make some more.
Making them into pieces of scrap. Kablooey.
So what's new in the world of Cloud as we continue our dog fighting?
Not much.
Have you ever been exposed to flight simulation games?
Beta 4, what is your status?
I remember some really crappy looking flight simulation games I've seen so far. I mean, like a genuine flight simulator where that you might as well be training to become a pilot. No, I've never done that, but I have played like land the helicopter or see if you can take flight.
I'm uploading the
Or how about that 2D side-scrolling game where you're supposed to like land the spaceship on the landing pad like in the most perfect and straight fashion without killing anybody in the process.
Kerbal.
Head to the coordinates.
Good times.
You see, when you mention games like that, I keep being reminded of Donkey Kong Country 2 Advances mini game where Funky Kong has got the copter that you have to actually maneuver about, and it controls like absolute ass.
This is
Ugh.
Alpha 1, acknowledged.
Hated that, and it was required for 100% completion too. The bastard.
We're on the far side of Pittsburgh. Changing course to your location. Over.
Yeah, games generally should hone in on what are the preferable ways of going through a map versus the not preferable ways, like alternate vehicles that have worse controls than what you're used to.
You may notice that whilst I'm going through the game that my boat will actually veer almost completely off course while I'm attempting to actually use my targeting computer. It's because I'm not actually all that skilled with all the different hotkeys, and I don't ever remember where the fuck what next enemy target is on my hotkey menu. So,
This is Gamma 6.
Jeez, did somebody turn out the light?
yeah, we're in a dust cloud.
Why is it so dark on the screen?
Behold a
Because that would have been
boat, or rather, a docking station and weapons platform.
Depot. We'll need torpedoes to take it out. Over.
This is actually introduction to a specific mission type that we will be attempting to avoid for most of the campaign, where you can actually go and deal with enemy factions, bases slash weapon depots in order to build up reputation and get paid for it, because we're a freelancer. It is very important in this mission specifically to take down both weapon platforms as soon as you can, as they have better weapons than the normal spaceships that we were supposed to be fighting. Thankfully,
Not
because
exactly
we're
a
running
whole lot of health,
star beams, the weapon platforms actually do fall down relatively quickly.
Where are these torpedo bombers?
Slicing through them like a space knife through space butter.
We're making our torpedo run at the station.
Room temperature space butter.
Room temperature space
Let's
butter.
finish them off.
Now, does that taste any better than normal butter, Mr. Cloud?
No.
Alright, last rogue.
You know where space butter comes from, Mr.
I would assume
Gerdat?
Space Australia, but Space Australia isn't actually in this game, so.
It comes from Space Australian space cows.
Great shot, Delta
It's
Leader.
the only way.
Our pleasure, Gamma 6.
Yay! We have successfully taken down the rogue weapon depot.
Now disintegrate the model and then create a bunch of individual pieces, not unlike the scrap fields that we've been seeing in this debris territory.
All right, and thus ends our second tutorial mission, and for the most part, tutorial end.
All units, secure the area.
Just got to make it
Oh
back
man,
to
that
Pittsburgh.
space lightning storm is coming.
Clear. I'm uploading
Getting a little flashy and stroby in here.
Let's go.
Back to planet Pittsburgh we go.
Can this thing fly any faster?
Actually, no. Unless you're actually in a trade lane, the maximum speed that your impulse engine will actually take you is 300. Or rather, your cruise engine will take you is 300 units per second.
And so, while we fly the remaining 18,000 K towards planet Pittsburgh, let's have a little dialogue from our narrow roster of rather
Trent,
tough characters here.
sent me a message on the secure chat.
Ow. We just flew into debris. And as a result of flying into debris, we took some health
No,
damage, as
shield
indicated
damage.
by the red marker.
They'll have some
But the shield will regenerate, and it took the blow.
Thanks, King.
Watch out.
See you around.
So, what on a rating scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is I can't stop getting hit and 10 is perfect, how are the hitboxes on the scrap and the debris?
Scrap is actually scrap and ice is like 8 or 9, to be perfectly honest. The hitboxes are very, very accurate, and because of that you're able to dodge them quite nicely.
Familiarize yourself
Nice.
with the New York system. Maybe see what
Because that strikes me as something they really should have gotten right on the first try, because we've been flying through a lot of debris in just the past 15 minutes of gameplay.
In the next episode, we will start free play. We just got to land on planet Pittsburgh in order to decide what we actually want to go do. We got to go and do enough free play in order to get to pilot level 3, so that we can attempt to continue on with the rest of the campaign. this will happen virtually every other story mission, for the record, where we get shifted off into free play in order to do some grinding and getting ourselves, as Junie says, familiar with the system that we're in.
Welcome to Planet Azerbaijan.
Be safe, everybody.
Planet Pittsburgh of the New York system.